Welcome to the Faith Together podcast from the Center for Faith and Family at Olivet Nazarene University. If you believe that passing down Christian faith is essential for the next generation, you are in the right place. Enjoy conversations with guests who are faith practitioners, parents, caregivers, pastors, counselors, and many more. You'll enjoy practical tools and community for passing down Christian faith to your children and grandchildren. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Faith Together podcast, sponsored by the Center for Faith and Family at Olivet Nazarene University. Thank you for joining us today. Good afternoon, Lindsey.
Good afternoon, Leon. Great to see you.
Yeah, good to see you as well. How are things these days?
Things are going great. I'm enjoying the sunshine that we've been able to have here locally, at least here in Bourbonnais. And
still a bit chilly.
But we'll take the sun.
Yeah,
right?
waiting for the warmth. It's so funny. One of my children from my ministry at church, her mom is a professor at Olivet, and she was on spring break this week. And so she brought me a picture. She's, I think in first or second grade, brought me a picture, and it's me in my garden with all the plants growing up, because I talk about my garden all the time.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
With my kids at church. And so it was one of those hang up on the wall kind of pictures.
Yes, yeah. I say those are the ones you want to keep in the smile file for years to come.
That's right.
On those hard days, you just open it up. It brings a smile to your face.
Yeah. So I'm waiting for the temperatures to get a little bit warmer so I can get out in the garden and get those things started.
It's on its way. Spring is almost here, and we have a brand new spring series
for
the podcast.
Yeah, and this series, what are we calling it? For
families.
Families.
Yes.
Well, that makes sense, I guess, doesn't it? For families. So what we're doing as a part of this series is we are inviting other recipients of the Lilly Endowment grant that we received. We're inviting them to come and talk with us a little bit about what they're doing as a part of their project. So just a little bit of background on that. Lilly Endowment gave out, granted quite a few grants.
Yes, granted the grants.
Yeah,
that's
about
right.
120 or so in what they called the Parenting and Caregiving Initiative. And we were one of those, and those grants were in the neighborhood of $1.3 million, depending on how much each organization applied for, which is a significant investment on Lilly Endowment's part to really help parents more effectively communicate and pass their faith to their kids. And so I'm just thrilled that Lilly Endowment sees value in that and wants to invest in that kind of thing. So that's what we're about. We've talked about our initiative quite a bit on our podcast and the things that we're trying to do in helping parents effectively pass their faith to their kids.
Yeah, and part of that is our podcast, this podcast,
right.
Faith Together. And we say on this podcast all the time that when building faith, we're better together. And I think that statement is also true when we think about our project and we think about passing on faith for generations to come, that the Lord uses all of us in many denominations across the country in many different contexts. And so I'm excited for this series because we're going to get to see up close how the Lord is working in so many different ways to build faith, and that we really truly are better together and a part of a greater story here. So
yes, it's nice to know we're not kind of on this endeavor by ourselves.
Yes, for sure. So today we are thrilled to have a special guest with us. Our guest is Elly Marroquin. And Elly comes to us from Springfield, Missouri. She serves as the National Director of Christian Education and Discipleship in Family Ministries for the Assemblies of God. And so, Elly, welcome to the Faith Together podcast.
Oh, thank you, Leon and Lindsey. You guys are awesome, and I celebrate what you and I get to do on behalf of the church and of our families.
That's right. Well, the feeling is mutual from us as well. We celebrate all that you're doing, and we know that your project alongside the Lilly Endowment grant is Ignite Parenting. And so can you tell us just a little bit about Ignite Parenting and how the Lord has put that project together and written a story for you where you are as you serve families.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. So for those of you that are wondering, where did Ignite Parenting have its beginnings? We were at a meeting about 7 years ago here at our headquarters of the Assemblies of God. And the heart of leadership has always been for the next generation. How do we ensure we're transmitting our faith to the next generation of believers, making disciples that make disciples? But that starts in the home. And how do we resource churches and families? And we said we need to do something for parents. And then along came Lily, and like you, generously, we were the recipients of this grant. And we said, God is providing the funds to get this initiative started. And Ignite Parenting was born out of a heart of empowering and equipping parents and caregivers and supporting the local church to transmit faith to the next generation. And through our resources and our one-on-one opportunities with different churches, we are hoping to make a difference in igniting a movement of support for parents and families.
Sounds a lot like what we're trying to do. That's exciting.
That is so exciting.
And, each of us have our own little niche of the world, or maybe we should say of the country, because Lily's focus really is on the United States for this particular project. And so that's exciting. So talk to us a little bit about what you have learned in the process. Maybe talk about some of the things that you're actually doing to fulfill that mission, and then what you've learned as you've gone through putting together all of the details of the initiative.
So in our early stages, we learned that sometimes we could be a little ambitious in our planning and wanting to get resources out. And so one of the things that we learned is to build a greater timeline between what we're hoping to roll out and the impact that it has on different markets or different families. For example, one of our resources, which is our conversation cards, was intended to help parents as a tool to create deeper, more meaningful conversations, because when you have meaningful conversations, it lends itself to deeper relationship with your children. And so we said, what tool could we put in the hands of parents? Most parents today will pick up their children from school. I grew up in the Northeast, very busy, tri-state areas, and we'll ask our children, how was your day? Fine. We get to do dinner and, homework, right? The realities, yep. Sports, and we'll take it at fine, thank you. And I'm sure you've experienced the same. And so with our conversation cards, we wanted to get to that next tier, below the waterline, if you will, and ask questions that could get kids and parents of all ages. I'm using our conversation cards with my own family, and now my youngest is 17. And one of the questions on there that I even did with our team today is, what color are you feeling like today? And, it's a great way if our kid is feeling blue or a dark color. So what's going on in your world? And that allows us to connect with our kids. We also have a podcast just like you, and different resources in terms of a blog and Conversation Kids, and a family calendar, just to get families out and about having fun and creating great memories.
I love that, Elly. I think all of those tools are so effective. I think sometimes, and we talk about this a lot on the podcast, sometimes we just overcomplicate sharing faith with our kids. And it truly is just having space, holding space for them, and having time to say, how are you feeling? And having those caring conversations. So I think those are just tremendous resources that parents can use. And we should say to our listeners that the Ignite Parenting website is igniteparenting.com, and we will have that linked on our website, centerff.com, for any of you listening that want to check out more of these resources that Elly referenced, and also their podcast.
Right. So part of this podcast is trying to provide really practical tools for our parents. These conversation cards sound like an extremely practical tool. So I'm assuming that this is not just for Assembly of God churches, that anybody who would be interested in accessing these resources, Elly, would be available to do so?
Yes, we really wanted to hit the heart of families across our nation, regardless of your faith denomination. Everything that we produce is Bible centered. So whether it's our book series that you'll find on there, where we've partnered with clinicians and bring a practical how to respond to situations that parents are navigating, we're always trying to be practical. We're always trying to base everything on God's word, but also have the trustworthiness that, hey, we have reputable clinicians, Christian people of faith that are partnering with us, that are trying to support our parents to transmit their faith in everyday life.
That's fantastic. I think it's important for parents to know that you're not alone, that we want parents to feel supported. We want them to have a team around them, like professionals, clinicians, experts in their field, because the more voices that can speak into our kids' lives, then the more we can find the resource and the help that we need to direct them in the way they should go. And so that's wonderful that there's such a support system available through all that y'all are doing through Ignite Parenting.
We're doing
Lindsey,
a similar
yeah,
go ahead, Elly.
I just wanted to add one more thing that we've learned through our conferences, and we're going to have one in June in the Northeast. One of the things that we're learning is that parents need community, and you alluded that just a second ago. The fact that we're building a community of not only clinicians, but a community of like-minded parents, that whether you're journeying through the toddler years or the teenage years, there's another mom, there's another set of family members within your community that is navigating the same situations and could lend support and a place to connect.
Yes, that's fantastic. And I'm glad you mentioned the conferences, because we did want to hear a little bit more about that, of what those look like for you guys and how parents are able to come to those. And if any of our listeners are interested in going, how they find out more about those conferences.
So the conferences are targeted directly to the parents. Sometimes they think, are these for leaders or church pastors? No, we're catering directly to you, the moms, the dads, the grandmas, the aunties, the caregivers. And our first in the Northeast will be the weekend of June 6th and 7th. And if you go to our website under events, you could register. They're open to everyone. We begin the day by unpacking the biblical role of parenting. Sometimes we don't understand what God is inviting us to, and that the family was God's idea. And we're just reminding parents and celebrating them, reminding them through encouragement that they can do this. God wired you for this. Then we break off into workshops, and each of those workshops will bring practical tools so that parents walk away with some practical ideas and say, this is one thing I could start this week. And we end our day with a commissioning, celebrating parents and reminding them that they have the power to bless their children every day. And throughout the day, we're putting practical tools like our sample conversation cards, the blessing on their hands, so that they can model some aspects of connecting with their families and saying, one day a week, I'm going to do something to connect with my children. And I think these conferences have the power to begin a shift in the home and reignite confidence in parenting.
That is fantastic. I think what I'm hearing you say is just that you're learning more and more as you guys go through your project and continue to expand your resources and your audience, that parents need the community and they need to be reminded that they're not alone and that they have a place to belong and that they can do this. They are equipped to do it and that it is God's idea. Yes, I love that. That's fantastic.
So have you had a conference yet, or are you still working towards your first?
So our first will be this one. I've participated in other conferences where our team has helped guide and organize, but those have been led and really logistically carried by the local church. So this will be our first one at Wayne Calvary. It's CTI in Wayne, New Jersey, if you go on our website. And we've kept the cost so low because of those Lilly Endowment funds.
Yeah.
It's $25 for parents to attend.
Wow.
So, if you go to a conference, it's usually $150. So the caliber is there because of those Lilly dollars that have come to support the grant. And so we want to make it accessible to parents.
That's great. We've kind of played around with hosting a conference ourselves, and we're kind of making plans for something like that in kind of a unique thing that a project we're going to be working on in the near future. So that kind of inspires us a little bit to consider that. I know it's a tremendous amount of work to host a conference and to do it well. And I know we're like you, Elly. Lindsey and I are so appreciative of the funds that we get from Lilly because it allows us to do some things we could not do on our own otherwise, and then to turn around and make things available to people at a very low cost, or in many cases for the things that we're doing at no charge for the curriculum that we're creating and those types of things. So we resonate with you and are thankful as well to Lilly for the support that they've given us.
Absolutely.
So, Elly, as you think about Ignite Parenting and seeing this project through alongside the Lilly Endowment, what do you hope for as you look at the next couple of years of this project for parents and for caregivers that Ignite Parenting has influence in?
I think one of the first things is the renaissance of the family. I think we have allowed outside entities to define an institution that it did not create. And I think God has privileged us with funds to be able to remind families and parents that there's no one more vested in your success than the Creator Himself, and that you're not alone in your venture. And as we go around the country, not only with our conferences, but create awareness of projects like yours or mine, is to remind the family that there are resources to help them to do the most important job that we're going to do, which is to raise our kids to be God-fearing and men and women of faith. The other thing that I'm hoping that we would ignite a movement of support for parents where they would feel confident. Sometimes we're feeling overwhelmed and ill-equipped for the most important job. When our kids are born, the hospital doesn't hand us a manual that when something goes wrong, it's like, scroll over to page 305, paragraph B. So we're trying to fill in the gap in terms of our book series. When something happens, what should the biblical response be with the trustworthiness of the clinical response? And then what are 3 practical ways that you could begin to address the situation in front of you? And that gives parents confidence that they're not journeying alone. And then through our community in the local church, as we resource the local church, communities would start going back to that adage that we sometimes quote, it takes a village to raise a child. It does. It takes grandmas and grandpas and people that are seasoned speaking into us and reminding us that they're there to help us.
That's really good. I'm just sitting here thinking about the task that all of us are about as we try to equip parents. And I think one of the things we're discovering is parents really want to take on this challenge of being biblical parents, but aren't always sure exactly what that looks like or how to do it. And so providing these kinds of resources to support them, I think, is a very important challenge that we are taking on. So with that in mind, would you just share with us a few things? If people go to your website, and if I remember correctly, the website is igniteparenting.com, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so if they go to your website, give us an idea of the kind of resources that they might find there that would be beneficial to them.
Well, when they come to our landing page, obviously they'll find our mission statement, and then they'll find our podcast. I want to remind our listeners that all of the resources are available in Spanish and in English. So if you have Spanish-speaking families that need those conversation cards in Spanish, están disponibles en español. There you go.
Wow.
Then they'll find information about our events, what events are near you that you could attend. We will also make available to parents training courses. I think it's important to provide them a place to grow, but that they can consume at their rate. So all of our training courses are able to be consumed in small bites where you can start a segment and you don't have to finish it all at once. You can come back in over a couple of days or a couple of weeks, be able to have conversations on gender and sexuality, how to raise spiritual kids in crazy culture, or different topics that we will be covering under our courses. Of course, there are those podcasts that I mentioned under our free resources and downloadable. There's an intergenerational guide that we want to make available. How do we include older generations? We also have a free family fun activity calendar for the month, giving you ideas. Sometimes parents are so busy, they're like, if you would just tell me 3 things I could do, I could select one.
That's
So
so
I kind
true.
of plan it for you.
Uh-huh.
Hey, listen, take the planning and the hard work. We also have family faith fun kits that you can do as a church community or just with your kids. Pizza garden, shoot for the stars, just some practical things where, I find that when families are having fun together, those are the things the kids will beg to replicate.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Mom and Dad, can we do that again? Can we do s'mores again? Hey, can we lay out our blanket and look at the stars again? Hey, can we do that fort in the living room again? And you know why? Because they're enjoying being with the most important people in their world.
Yeah, that's great.
Their moms and dads. So, of course, there's the blogs and our store where they can purchase the items that we have.
Well, you've just, I'm a little overwhelmed by the number of things you've just mentioned that you all have been working on. So I'm just a personal question. How many people are on your team? Because our team is rather small and we think we're doing a lot, but we're not doing near all that.
Yeah. That is fantastic.
I'm just realizing how much this little army has done as I'm going through the things with you. I'm like, oh, wow, yes, we did. So in our office, it's 3 of us. It's myself, a shout out to Courtney Lynch, who's over projects and events, and then Sabrina Deese, who's our part-time admin person. But being part of the Assemblies of God family gives me access to a marketing team and a marketing department, a publishing house, and other aspects of the house, as we call it, or of our tribe that are also part of this team. So we didn't do this alone. There were other departments, other team members that came along and helped this make a reality. We have a media team that helps us with our podcasts, and so we go over there and record. So it does take an army, and so I'm blessed to be able to share these resources for free, some of them, or at a minimal cost because of the Lily gift to us.
Yeah, it takes a team. You're right. I mean, a village to do this. We're in our situation. We're thankful to Shine.fm for hosting our podcast
Yes.
and making all of this seem so nice when Lindsay and I sometimes wonder if we know what we're doing. And well, maybe I should just speak for myself,
That's
Lindsay.
all of us. I'm like, what am I doing? Like when you said that, there's so many times along the way that you're like, oh Lord, help
Yes,
me.
yes.
I'm guiding the ship here.
Yeah. And then
so
we're
true.
blessed that we're connected with Olivet Nazarene University who, like you, we have a lot of people who contribute who are specialists in certain fields. And we've had them on our podcast. They've written curriculum for us. And we wouldn't be able to do it without all of that support. So I appreciate what you've said about the family that you're a part of and how they come along and support what you're doing.
Yes, we are grateful, like you. If we had to rely just on ourselves, I don't think we would get very far. I think collaboration, and for me, relationship is the most underutilized commodity that we have as humans. When we build relationships and we can share our hearts for what God has deposited a love for, in this case, families, helping them transmit the faith, and you cascade that throughout, you're going to find a lot of people that are willing to champion the same cause.
Yeah, and I think that's a good transition to what we're all about, and that's supporting families and families supporting other families. It's why we're the church and why we exist to help and support each other. And so if you're listening today and you have not found a church yet and you're trying to raise kids by yourself, you've got quite a difficult task. So we encourage you, find a church in your area, a church that would support you, that's Bible-based, that believes in God's word and is there to support you, and get involved there. Find other parents that can help support you. I think about the parents at my church, and I think about how much time they spend together, both at church and outside of church, and how they really rely on each other and how they couldn't do it by themselves. So thank you, Elly, so much for being with us.
Yes, Elly, thank you.
It's been a privilege to get to know you a little bit, to hear your heart. And I suspect Lindsay and I will probably see you in October.
Yes.
Is it October?
Yes,
Is it
for the
October?
annual gathering.
At our annual gathering, yeah.
This has been such a privilege for me and an opportunity to celebrate others who are championing, transmitting the faith, and supporting the church. And I just want to say to the Lord, thank you for people like you and who are at the forefront of his heart, which are people, which is the family. So thank you, and I bless you.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you
Yes,
so much.
thank you, Elly. We bless you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today. We hope that the conversation has inspired you to take that role of parenting seriously, making resources, getting access to the resources that are available to you to help support you. And we look forward to you joining us next week. May the Lord bless you, keep you, and give you peace. You've been listening to the Faith Together podcast from the Center for Faith and Family at Olivet Nazarene University. Sign up for additional resources at centerff.com. When building faith, we are better together.